This is John for Nexus MTG with some updates to Boros Burn. This is the list that's currently recommended on my Patreon page, along with the sideboard guide to go with that. Changes to the format with Hogaak being banned, and some other things going on, like a resurgence of blue-white control. That's hence why we've brought back Exquisite Firecraft. Nothing too strange from this list. This list is basically an amalgamation of John Whetstone's mana base for the 20 land red-white burn lists, along with a Grim Lavamancer on the list. No green splash right now. The main reason for the switch is Cindervines was largely a way to help combat blue-white control as well as Is It Phoenix, and with the recent additions of 3 Fairy and a more Planeswalker heavy build, the Cindervines aren't quite as good against the very heavy instant speed versions of blue-white control, so they are becoming more of like a mid-range control deck, tap-out control deck, rather than strictly flash version that relies on a ton of spells to win the game along with a couple Planeswalkers. So Cindervines is a little less effective, especially when 3 Fairy can bounce to your hand. They can counter on the way back down. So in order to balance that out, I've gone back to Exquisite Firecraft in the sideboard to kind of balance out with the 2 Skullcracks. Consideration for going back up to 3 or 4 Skullcracks, somewhere in the 75. But right now, with humans kind of on the rise, or becoming a mainstay in the format, along with the various Eldrazi decks that, even though yes they play Chalice and Path to Exile, those are our best way to combat their 4 and 5 drops on turn 2 and 3. Beyond that, just kind of your basic Boros build. Nothing too exciting, though we are running the 4 Inspiring Vantage, 4 Sunbake Canyon version, so we're maxing out on the fast lands, maxing out on the Horizon lands. Some lists we're playing 5 or 6. I think that might be a little too much in certain spots. Beyond that, just kind of your typical Boros Burn list, but let's get into some matches here. If you like what you're seeing on the channel, please consider subscribing, giving us a thumbs up, leaving a constructive comment down below. Okay, we're back for our first match with Boros Burn here. Not up to the greatest of starts. This hand would be like amazing if we had like even 1 land, but we don't, so keeping this hand, bring back one of the copies of Searing Blaze. So, a couple different play lines open to us. Obviously, turn 1's most likely just going to be Swift Spear. So, Ether Vial, not our friend here. This turns our Eidolon of the Great Revel into kind of a liability. So, Spirits is a little bit better of a matchup, but still kind of rough to have this Eidolon in hand. Alright. Do I blaze here and pray? That sucks. So we had two play lines there. Could have gone... Well, Eidolon doesn't really count as a play line right now, so... Could have gone Swift Spear plus stuff. So we can gather they don't have a copy of Phantom, because I think they just would have played that. So do this. Take care of that. Their Supreme Phantom's going to be a little rough. And we're left with two Eidolons in hand. Alright, here comes the Phantom. I don't even want to cast these Eidolons. Like, I just don't. Do I crack this? Hope to get a little bit lucky. I think so at this point. I mean, at this point, I don't think we're beating anything anyway, so I think we just go ahead. Swing in. There's a Selfless Spirit coming next turn. too dark outside, and the lighting in the background of my room just doesn't do a good job of keeping the camera up and running. Oh, that's not a fantastic draw either. Attack with the Eidolon. It's done its job this turn. If they add anything to the board here, we were just dead. Like, they don't know our last card in hand's basically a brick, so... I mean, we got to attack, right? Sure. Yeah, I could recast the Swift Spears, but we're just dead here. Alright, so sideboarding, bring in the paths, bring in the Searing Bloods, potentially the Firecrafts. Cards I'm not interested in. These Eidolons are complete, utter garbage. And the style situation, we bring in those, so I guess we just bring in the Firecrafts. Could bring in the Fireprass, could bring in the Skullcracks. Just depends on... So... Supreme... Phantom. Nothing too crazy out of these lists. I don't even really see any life gain outside of Hogaak Champion in some of these lists, so just kind of roll with what we got. Yikes. I think this is a good hand, but if we brick on lands, we'll definitely die. This is one of those hands that, yeah, I could easily mulligan, but, like, am I going to get a hand that's much better if I rip a land off the top? Probably not. Oh, there comes the thunderstorm. If I get Thalia next turn, I'm going to be pretty unhappy, but such is life. That one's certainly annoying. Seems like a pretty obvious spell queller turn here. Does give up on the ability of Searing Blaze, but I don't know that they'll actually play into a Blaze here. Don't know that accelerating them here is the best thing in the world. But I also don't want them being able to play at instant speed, so... See if they go to block here. Actually, since our opponent's super nice here, we get to cast the bolt again. Do I use it on this? Just keep their board clear. This is kind of a dissection. What happens when they don't have Vial? Alright, still don't feel like we're changing anything here. Wow. That's quite the storm outside. Sounds perfectly fine. It's functional. Alright, so do the thing. Give them a land, that's kind of rough. Tap land. Orland Hall, that's a little rough. Opponent has nothing to try to set up here. No, they have at least 2 lands in hand. They kept it on 1. Interesting. There are no cats in a mess. Don't know why I'm singing that song. See if there's anything to vial in here. Probably Giver of Ruins. Be the most likely thing. Yep. Yep. That's a little rough. Ash a little rough, should I say. Should have played the Sunbaked Canyon there. Maybe I'm just supposed to firecraft their face here. While they they can't Queller us. Sure. So I think we're at the point where we're just trying to buy time. So do I pass the turn here is the question. Searing Blood, use it to... I don't even know. Hope they tap the vial for some reason. No, Searing Blood loses its effectiveness. Sure. Miserable situation here. It's possible I was supposed to lead on. Magic Online. Oh well. Sorry, opponent tried to say GG's there, but Magic Online locking up. I'm trying to think, was there some type of sequencing I could potentially have done there? Felt like that was just too much stuff to fight through anyway. Giver of Runes plus Kira plus Spellcaller there. Possible we were supposed to try to kill the speed resources and try to kill the Kira earlier in the game. Spirits is a matchup that's becoming progressively harder and harder. Especially someone who's versed with Burn, so against someone who's versed with Burn. So, not sure really what else I could have done there in that spot. Anyways, we'll be back in a bit here with match number 2. Yeah, we're back getting ready for match number 2. First one with a long kind of grind fest against Azorius Spirits from a channel viewer. As always, if you like what you're seeing on the channel, please consider subscribing, giving us a thumbs up, leaving a constructive comment down below. And if you want to support the channel, you can always visit our Patreon page, where we give a updated sideboard guide every 2 weeks with a low donation of $1 per month. You're able to see sideboard guide updated twice a month. Last matchup was intriguing. So one of the things I've seen some people commenting on Facebook and stuff, is that Burn is basically at its zenith in terms of there's not a whole lot else that can be added to the deck. Another no-lander in our opener here. It's kind of funny, you begin with, sure, I guess? Put back... I think it's either Searing Blade, it might just be Lightning Helix here. So... Mill. Alright. Eater Crab's annoying. Like... yeah, they're gonna get to mill us for 6. Surprised they didn't just, like... This really sucks, too, because if they have Archive Trap, we're gonna get nailed here. Unfortunately, I can't play around it, so... So do I just Blaze here, or do I Eidolon? I think I just Blaze. Turn. Doesn't look like we're gonna get hit by an Archive Trap, which is nice. JK. Okay, no Archive Trap is nice. I think next turn we spend the turn running out Eidolon here. Opponent's already at 12. We have 9 points of burn in hand. So... been a minute since I've seen a Trim Mill deck. Don't think anything's gonna Alora's an interesting one. Hedron, Crab. It's a lot of cards. We have a Crypt Incursion. Obviously, we're in big trouble. Land, please. They have the Incursion, they have the Incursion. There's not a whole lot we can do here. So next turn, if we draw a land, we could go that, deal them 10. Should say a land that taps for mana. So don't know there's too much left in our deck that we could actually fetch right now. We have one more mountain. So Sacred Foundry is already in the yard. Crypt Incursion would pretty well seal the deal here. Gain them 1, 2, 3, 4. Don't think Ensnaring Bridge is the card you were looking for here, friend. String Blazes out of our deck. Skull Cracks in. Smashes in. Is there any other cards that we actively want to cut here? Scheming Symmetry is an interesting one. Don't think we make any other changes here. The only other card we can conceivably consider bringing in is really Exquisite Firecraft or Rest in Peace. Rest in Peace has no effect against them other than shutting down Visions of Beyond, making it just a simple cantrip as opposed to Ancestral Recall. So when your deck's already going through that many hoops to turn on a card anyway, it's just part of the strategy. Yeah, seems reasonable. The only downside is, unfortunately, we have to fetch, so our opponent will get to turn on Archive Traps. Let's go ahead and bolt that anyway, since we're not going to be able to do anything. Swift Spear wouldn't get in for any damage through the O2, so... The question is, do I risk fetching to get Eidolon down? So we're going to be taking a lot of damage from our lands plus Eidolon. Like, not like our opponent's going to suddenly switch to a damage plan, but something like Manic Scribe obviously could be problematic. Yeah, I guess it doesn't actually do anything other than mill additionally. I was thinking really hard. Is that indication of how like mana hungry their hand is? Their deck has a lot of colored stuff, but I think you can safely afford to get an island or a swamp here, can't you? Would our opponent... Huh. Question is, like, what card do I get here? So, realistic possibilities are a basic mountain, or a copy of Skullcrack, or Smash to Smithereens. I think I grab Skullcrack here. Or some type of blue... Okay, sure. Alright, sure. It's kind of a dirty move. So they get to force you to search. That's a dirty combination. So I'm guessing this is like a... Okay, sure. So if they have Crypt Incursion here, we're pretty much dead. Mm-hmm. we have any reason to fetch here? If we get to attack next turn, we basically get to lock them out. What you got over there, friendo? Another ensnaring bridge would put them to... There's like another ensnaring bridge. Dismember. Okay. GG's. Alright, one through Ensnaring Bridge and Crypt Incursion, and one heck of an insane Scheming Symmetry Archive Trap nonsense. Seems like a pretty sweet combo for their deck. Anyways, this has been John for MTG Nexus with match number 2 with Boros Burn in Modern. So we're back for number 3 after an interesting match against... Wow. Another one of these one-landers that I'm so famous for keeping that people don't like. I mean, this is a one-lander that's got one heck of an upside, so... Doo-doo-doo. Bloodstained Mire. Burn Mirror, perhaps? Appears we're against some style of Mardu. What? Alright. Something's getting fatal pushed here. I don't think I've ever actually seen that card. Intriguing. We get brutality here, it's gonna really hurt. I think we're just gonna go ahead and kill that, not really give them any recourse here. Flashback Souls. Yep. Come on, deck. Can't you give us a land? That is most unfortunate. Goodbye, lightning bolt. We barely knew you. There's no way they're letting us through. It's possible we could take a spirit out in the process. I think our window to draw land has definitely passed by, so... Get the flashback and Inquisition. This is just silly. I mean, the game isn't over because they don't have much pressure in play, but this combination of nonsense and us not drawing another land just kind of really hurts. Perhaps it's too early to pack it in here, but these kind of games just really grate on my nerves. So... Dread Horde Arcanist. So what cards make sense here? Blood makes a reasonable amount of sense. Skullcracks makes some sense. Path to Exile against specifically Arcanist would make some sense, but I don't know we want to go that far down the rabbit hole. I think we just board out some amount of our white cards. Do I bring Pyromancer back in, or like one of Path to Exile, one of Boros Charm? Yeah, sounds pretty good. Smiting Helix, huh? Not technology I'd ever think I'd see. It's from Modern Horizons, alright. I mean... This is probably going to get bolted. Let's go that. Just hold up bold, I guess. Sure. They try to go unearth this turn. We have bolt up in case they try to bring back Skelemental here. Yep, just double lingering souls. Sure. Skelemental is a 6/1, correct? Yeah. Goblin Guide. This is probably like the best turn to draw it. Does give them a land, unfortunately. Puts them to 10, which will put them to 9. Hopefully they go for the greedy play and just try to slam Skelemental here. That's on a unique version of this list. Dreadhorde Arcanist. Alright. Inquisition. That's potentially a little rough. We have a Fatal Push here. That is most unfortunate. Alright. Come on, just jam Skelly Welly here. You know you wanna. What could they even flash back here? Lightning Bolt, I guess? Faithless Looting. Okay. Sure. Alright, yeah. They don't know our hand, right? Like, they're really playing around not throwing that guy into the fray. Is that really telegraphing Searing Blood that badly? What a weird version of the deck. I mean, gonna be a mulligan. Yeah, pitch one of the basic mountains, I guess. Yep, they have like the perfect start. Not what you want to be doing against the discard deck. It's possible as much graveyard interaction as they have that we should be bringing in. Why that? Setting up an Arcanist? Gotta be setting up an Arcanist, right? That's just terrifying. Hopefully they don't have a third land here. That's a reason to leave the land in hand. Dreadhorde Arcanist. Now if they rip a land, I feel really bad about our sequencing of not keeping a land in hand. If they rip a land, don't rip a land, don't rip a land, don't rip a land. Inquisition's not good here either. Frickin' A. No, they get to cast an... Alright. Never mind, they don't get to cast an Inquisition. Why is that an instant? That just doesn't seem like it should be an instant. Put you to 3. We sack our Eidolon. Play a creature I can kill. Don't have another Kaya's Guile. Kaya's Guile would be kind of brutal here. Does not seem like they have another Kaya's Guile. Opponent knows we have the Searing Blood in hand, right? Pretty sure they do. Just gonna pass here. Got no reason to really play anything right now. Sure. Bolt's perfectly fine. You know if you're dead if you do that, right? GG, well played. Alright, that was a rough way to get our second match win in match number 3, but we got there. This has been John for MTG Nexus. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Hey, we're back for match number 4. Fortunately, this is a mulligan. This likewise is a mulligan. Skewer the critics and yes, lightning helix here. Feels like a kind of a rough situation for us. Burn mirror, huh? So here's a situation I'm in. As soon as I play a land and a spell, my opponent's going to immediately know what I'm on. We're severely at a disadvantage here because we're down 2 cards, only have 1 land. I can try to fight this out. Just saying there's some consideration to conceding this game. Yeah, especially in the face of Eidolon here. I think sadly we gotta take out Eidolon as much as I want to kill Swift Spear here. This puts us in like a terrible position here. This. The searing effect. Yep. We just had a mulligan to 5 and things haven't been going well here. Sure. opponent maybe with one spell in hand. We're dead there regardless of what we block, so. Sideboarding, get Eidolon out. Some people like Eidolon in the mirror, especially on the play. I'm not a huge fan of it. Get the Pyromancer out. Get one of the Skewer the Critics out, because sometimes things could be disjointed. It can be hard to deal with that. Bring in the Skull Cracks against opposing Lightning Helixes and Core Firewalkers. Bring in Path to Exile, primarily to deal with Core Firewalker, and then Searing Blood's obviously pretty good against the creature draws. So. Sand isn't stellar, we don't have any creatures, but that also might blank some cards in our opponent's hands, so. We do have 8. We do have 17 points of burn in hand, which is semi-relevant. Awkward. Not the most mana efficient play, but we can't guarantee we'll ever draw a third land, so getting damage with this while we can. Opponent's probably going to go face with the Riftbolt Hiss with a Searing effect. Okay. Looks like they just might drop an Eidolon here. Nope, Goblin God. Alright, did they keep a one-lander? They did not. Skewer the Critics, a little bit awkward here. Sure. So I'm just going to go ahead and Helix this here. We could wait until their turn to get another trigger from GG over there, but I think it's just... Wowzers. Okay. So, do I play around Helix here, or do I just... I guess it doesn't really matter playing around Helix, because I can always just Boros Charm on unstep. I think I have to fire this off regardless of they have Helix or not. No sense in taking the damage here. Sure, Bolt isn't really relevant here. Opponent could have something like Deflecting Palm we should be playing around, but I'd rather hold up Skullcrack through the turn. Yup. Must have an Inspiring Vantage to play. Yeah, Lightning Helix. Yep. Unfortunate. Not surprising, but unfortunate. Should have played Lava Spike there. Decent chance I could die here. Sure. Am I dead? Sure. Close game. Very, very close game. Alright, so... don't think anything changes. Still leave the some number of passing in case they have Firewalker. Alright, solid hand. Got a lot of the tools we want in the matchup. Got a 1-drop, got a Steering Blood, got some stuff. They're mulliganing, which may or may not be good. Yep. Giving them a pain-free land kind of sucks, especially when that's likely the only land they had. Yep. Searing effect. Nope. Bolt plus skewer. Sure. So, suspend Rift Bolts. Hope we don't have to damage ourselves. Get a tap Lightning Helix, or tapped, whatchamacallit for Lightning Helix. Alright, there's Goblin God. Skull Crack. So if we hit a land this turn, are they dead? Probably not. There's a GG. Make it hard for them to kill us next turn. Alright, and they concede the game. So, got there in the Burn Mirror, which, as Space Marine said, is probably the most skill-intensive thing for the Burn deck, although I would argue that the blue-white matchup can be kind of skill-intensive, and Grixis Death Shadow is an interesting matchup as well. Anyways, this has been John for MTG Nexus with match number 4 with Burn. We are back for our 5th and final match in this league. Our Boros Burn list. Wow. Keep this. Hope this combination of cards is the right one. It's had quite a few mulligans, or just like, oh dear. That's generally an indicator of a very bad matchup, that is. Yep. Turn 2 Thought-Knot Seer with no mulligan? Seems good. Probably should have held on to that first Searing Blaze, but you can't beat that draw. You just can't. Alright, mulligan to 5, gets smashed by Eldrazi Tron nut draw, sure. So, out, Searing Blazes, a couple copies of Eidolon, in all the paths, and bring the smashes. Grim isn't great, but it's reasonable. Could bring in Skullcrack. There's a lot of things you can like tweak in this matchup, but in the end, the main things are their absurd draws and Chalice on 1. Generally the things you try to avoid. Like if they're keeping 7-card hands, it's generally not a good thing for Burn. So, Cavern of Souls, sure. Basilisk Color can be problematic. Especially if they have turn 2 Thought-Knot Seer again. I mean, there's like no getting around that here. Endbringer. Yeah, that's a problem as well. But it requires, what, 3 to activate? Yeah. So we're a bit of a ways off from that. Chalice on 1. No, Mindstone. Okay, sure. Boros Charm your face. Pretty sure you're dead here. Okay, so you can go... You have access to 6 mana, so I guess you could go TKS plus Equip Collar, but that doesn't matter. You're just dead to known information. Could also blow up Blast Zone. Tron. So I think on the draw, I'm going to take out a Pyromancer and a copy of Lava Spike and bring in Skull Cracks now that they've shown us Basilisk color. This hand's fine, like it's not great. We don't have any early creature pressure. And their land base doesn't generally deal them a whole lot of damage. Feels like they're keeping their 5 and deciding what they're going to mulligan. And decide what they're going to put to the bottom of their deck. Always mulligan to the temple, right? GG's a decent one here. Fluck. Please don't have TKS. Chalice we care about, but we also don't care about, if that makes sense. Sure. Ballista on one, sure. Doesn't particularly matter. Closer to assembling Tron, which is scary. Suspend Rift Bolt, play Lava Spike. Hit a land drop, they're dead next turn. 6 mana, so they can Endbringer here. Endbringer doesn't do a whole lot on this board though with Path to Exile. So hopefully this is just Endbringer. Just give me a land and make this easy deck. Or we can just do that. Wowzers. Alright, well, that league was far from easy. Lots of mulligans, some mulligan decisions that were questionable with one land hands on the play, especially lots of grindy 3-match games. Like 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 of the 5 were 3-match games. mean, I stand by my build of the deck. I'm not going to sit here and say I don't. Obviously, there are tweaks you can make with Smash to Smithereens versus Wear Tear, but Leyline really hasn't been that big of a thing lately. The matchups you're going to see Leyline out of, decks like Ad Nauseam or Bogles are so bad of a matchup, I don't think even having a couple outs to Leyline really matters anyway. Said, is there any other cards that are relevant? Like Phyrexian on Life, but once again, most of the decks that are playing those are also running Leyline. Things like White Prison, things like Bogles, things like Ad Nauseam, just have so many targets that I'm not really sure the disenchant effect is worth it without the extra damage. And then blue-white control, one of the matchups I was a big advocate against was Cindervines. The deck's just gotten a lot better against, Cindervines with all the Planeswalkers and Teferi being able to bounce it, etc., etc. So, only slot I'm kind of questioning, Lavamancer, haven't really seen it pop up, didn't really play too many creature matchups, although it would have been key, probably against that blue-white spirits list. Props to our opponent, who is also a fan of the channel. And beyond that, I mean, list is solid. If you want to support the channel and get a sideboard guide to this particular list, feel free to check out our Patreon page. The link is down below. I have a sideboard guide I update every 2 weeks on the 1st and the 15th of the month. Beyond that, thanks for hanging out, and I hope this video was some value to you. This has been John for MTG Nexus with our current Boros Burn list here on the channel.